in terms of improving your projection and delivery, I think it all starts with your lyrics first. Because if you have a problem with getting out and making a fast rap, heard and being very clear, I think you have to start from the point of dictation, and like you start slow. Like if I have a really fast line in a song, what I would do when I want to record it, what I would do is say it really slowly. So if I go I spit retarded bombarded, I would go I spit retarded bombarded right before, and you really like you exaggerate, and when you exaggerate, you try it once exaggerated, it comes out a bit clear. I spit retarded my body the beats, like you after exaggerating it, then you can do it at a faster speed. So I think when it comes to faster stuff, the most important thing obviously is clarity. People are hearing it for the first time and they're hearing it at a fast speed, so for them to follow along, it's about that. It's about breathing, writing in the right enough
meter,
writing enough that you give yourself breaths, spaces to breathe. You consciously write spaces to breathe, because obviously in a studio you can do one take, cut, do the next line, cut. That's fine. On stage, you can't really do that. So it's about, in terms of faster stuff, 100%, like being aware of places, you need to breathe, and also clarity. When it comes to slower stuff, I would say, again, also about clarity, and also accentuating certain parts, which are proper, which
pitching also is very
which are more important. Like even sometimes, within your voice, you want to start. It's about, like keeping it dynamic. Your voice is not supposed to be like a robot and like monotonous the whole time. You're supposed to have, it's supposed to have some liveliness to the voice as well. So I think in terms of delivery, experimenting with those things and perfecting it, knowing how to go from a higher pitch to a lower pitch, knowing how to, accentuate certain words, which are important in the rap, like at the end of the words or at the start, and kind of keeping it, keeping it at the same level, but also lively, keeping it consistent in terms of delivery, but also making it interesting and not boring for the listener.
What I also try to, like, all these years, what I've tried to do to improve my delivery is that a lot of times it takes a lot to know the beat that you're rapping on. If you know each, so what I do is before I write a song, or even before I'm just going to record a song in a studio or on a mic or whatever it is, I listen to the beat and I see how the beat has been crafted, so that I can place my words according to that. Because when you do that, your delivery automatically becomes, automatically gets on a track where you realize that, okay, this is where I need to express such a mood on this particular word or this particular line. So I would say know your instruments and the beat that you're rapping on, know that really, really well. But sometimes you might be in a situation when a beat is thrown at you, okay, and you have to express yourself the best that you can. In that case, all you have to do is give yourself some time and calm yourself down, and then you start rapping on the beat. Because normally what happens that when we are conscious about certain things while rapping, it shows in our delivery, it shows in your tone, it shows in your expression. 100%. What I do is normally I close my eyes and I imagine that I'm on stage, because the stage is a very comfortable place for me. I'm very happy on the stage. So if I need a pump, if I need to up my energy, I close my eyes in the booth and I imagine that I'm rapping in front of millions of people. That gives me that delivery, that expression that I need to sound grander or into. If I'm doing a sad song, then I would imagine myself alone sitting in a dark room where I'm thinking. So it's also like, how you build up your mood. According to that, you can deliver it easily, because you don't have to get into the technicalities. Like, also your hand expressions, your body movements, while you're rapping on the mic also, decides how your vocals and how your delivery is going to come out. So tomorrow, if I'm talking about maine mara 4, I would do this on while I'm rapping on the mic. Mic गिराने का नहीं है, साइड से करो, अपना देखो, कुछ कॉफी का ग्लास वास मत गिराओ. बट अगर बोलना है कि 4 मारूंगा चौका, तो ये चौका बोल दिया तो फुल फील आ गया. अगर खाली ऐसा चौका बोलूंगा तो मजा नहीं आता है वो, तो इसीलिए हाथ मूवमेंट, मतलब समझो तुम हीरो हो पिक्चर के, तुम्हारा गाना तुम्हारा पिक्चर है, तुम गाने के हीरो हो और तुमको अभी बस सिर्फ माइक पे नहीं दिखाना है, बॉडी से करके दिखाओ ताकि अंदर से पूरा फील आएगा.
Yeah, I think a famous example of this is Michael Jackson when he used to record when he recorded Thriller. They didn't record him on a fancy condenser mic. They recorded him on a Shure SM7B, which is a dynamic mic, you know, which literally you know. He was like literally as if they kept a mantle for him, like a small part of the booth was a stage, so he could dance and, you know, like go crazy with it, because if he was dancing and moving like crazy in front of a condenser mic, it would pick up a lot. But because he wanted to have that energy to give his performance, like a lot of people do this, like a lot of famous singers want to set the mood, they put candles around them. For me, sometimes I record with the lights off, you know, for a certain song, if it's like a more deeper song or whatever. Or for party songs, rappers, I'm sure you guys have seen this, there's the entire studio is filled with homies and chilling and, you know, with the vices and stuff, and everyone's having a good time because you want to create that atmosphere. So I think when the atmosphere is there, it's easier for you to adjust and deliver that, you know, that type of song. So a dynamic mic, which is mostly used in a live setup, I'm sure you've seen them on stage. So the size of it moves up in size, and it has a grill on top, you know. And what happens is, you know, these type of mics, you can hit them and they can fall, and not much will happen to it, and it's quite powerful in terms of, you know, durability. All mics have the same type of output, which is XLR, and, you know, it's they call it male female, you know, so it's always input output. The dynamic mic is not as sensitive as a condenser mic. So what happens is, you know, if I'm speaking like this, you know, really loudly, the mic is not going to pick it up, and if I'm speaking like this, that's when the sound source is going to go through and then reach out to your speakers. And the reason for that is, if you can see, it's going in one direction. So I physically need to be speaking into the mic, you know, for it to, you know, pick up the sound, you know. And the grill is basically, you know, covering it from, you know, particles and you know, things like, you know, when you spit and, you know, like pop and, you know, all those type of things. That's basically the protector of, you know, the circuitry under, you know, this bulb, you know. And a dynamic mic, you know, it's mostly used on stage, and you know, it's when you tap on it and stuff, it'll make a but, you know, like we do check 1, check 2, but it's not as sensitive as a condenser mic, which is used in a studio. And so when holding the mic on stage, definitely you should never cover the grill, because what you're doing is essentially you're covering the frequency response. So literally, if I'm only keeping that hold, it's going to be muffled.
A lot of people
basically
do this. Like,
yeah, and that's, you know, it looks cool on stage. You see your rappers do it, but it's not technically correct. You should always keep your hand just under the grill. I know it looks funny, like, yeah, I'm singing like that, but this is the right way. And I think the best way to do it is keep your thumb and let your thumb be here, you know, so you do it like that. You have the perfect amount of distance, you know. If you're going louder in tone, you can pull it back, you know, if you're screaming, belting, you know, if you're singing. But normally this is the perfect way to start off, and then you can kind of figure it out. Sometimes stylistically, I put it down here, you know how, you know, you can play around with it. But I think when you're just starting off, just for practice, knowing the distance, great technique. Keeping this thumb on your chin, no one can see it, you know, like that, and, you know, it kind of lets your brain kind of be aware of the distance. So the condenser mic draws more energy and electrical energy. So the rule number 1 with the condenser mic, it requires phantom power, which is 48 volts. So normally you will always remember, when you insert your XLR, your cable into your mic and put it into an audio interface, the first thing you have to do before turning on your speakers or anything like that is you press plus 48 volts. I got it tattooed as well, so I don't forget. And basically, it requires phantom power because the level of sensitivity is gonna draw from any audio source is gonna be way higher than dynamic mic, you know. And the different basically levels of it is there are polar patterns, which means what directions that the mic is picking up, you know, the sound source. So there's cardioid, which is basically in front of you. So if the mic is facing me, which it is right now, it's facing this side, then there's bidirectional, which is 2 ways, and omnidirectional, which is multiple sides. So there's your microphone will have different polar patterns which you can select between. If you want to record a guitar in a room and you just want to get the ambient sound, you're going to probably use omnidirectional to get the entire room sound. If you're going to just, for vocal specifically, is just cardioid, which is the most important one, which is just in front of you, because you're just trying to pick up your voice. But at the end of the day, a condenser mic picks up a lot more sensitivity. It's a lot more sensitive than a dynamic mic. So even if I put it in this room, obviously, if I'm right in front of it, it's going to be super loud on your source, with your gain. But even if I sit on that side of the room, there will be some sort of sound coming from there, because the sensitivity of the capacitor, which basically picks up the electrical energy and turns it into digital energy through the audio interface, is so sensitive that it would pick up anything in the room. I would say definitely the most important thing, like you can't hold a condenser mic, because it's so sensitive. Even if I tap it like that, it would sound like a bomb going off on your speaker, which is why it's on a holder like this called a shock mount, so that even if I punch the mic like that, it stays in one place, because it resists being shocked and moving around. Of course, with condenser mics, they're super delicate, because of its sensitivity, and obviously price-wise, it is a lot more higher than a dynamic mic. There are also tube mics, which are vintage mics, and the capacitors are basically larger and they have higher sensitivity. So those will come with extra power source. Not just, you can't just plug it into your audio interface and click phantom bar the plus 48 volts. It'll come with its own power source, which you plug out of the wall. It goes into the mic, and then basically the output of the mic goes into your audio interface. But in general, condenser mics have a lot more delicacy and sensitivity compared to a dynamic mic, which you can fling around. If you drop one of these, most likely you will you will.
भगवान करे ऐसा कुछ किसी के साथ हो नहीं.
Yeah.
And we have also forgotten condenser mics in auto rickshaws, and we have lost it.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
I've forgotten a dynamic mic and I still cried. But the main thing is, if you drop this, it will break, and and the grill will break, and it will affect the capacitor. And the most important thing is, it requires a lot of care, and it's an investment at the end of the day, for sure.
And they're very expensive, so you have to be careful with them.
Yeah. So I'm now going to show you what's the best posture and positioning when recording on a condenser mic. So obviously have your back straight, and be in direct the center of the mic. It should be kind of symmetrical. And the most important thing, distance-wise, it should be about 1.5 inches or 2 inches. So the same distance of the pop filter and the microphone, and the pop filter and your voice, and your mouth. What you have to remember is, the further you are back, the more thinner your voice is going to sound. The more closer you are to the pop filter, is going to have more body. Your voice is, the audio source is going to have more body. And when you're doing rap vocals, you want your voice to have a lot more body. So you might see a singer who projects their voice a lot more, because they're not in their speaking voice. Rap can be more in your speaking voice. So they'll be singing da 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 da, and higher the notes, the more they go back. But for rappers, you tend to, not move your mouth so much, because what you want is a consistent level, a level of volume and, audio source, going into the mic and into, through your audio interface. So 1.5 to 2 inches, in terms of distance between the mic and the pop filter, and the pop filter and your mouth. And obviously, in terms of movement, you don't want to move too much. You want to kind of, you can move your hands and stuff like that, but at the end of the day, you want to kind of keep in the same zone. You don't want to move too much, because as soon as you move it, you'll hear it right away on the speakers later, because it will sound evidently, different in terms of volume. Those are the main things. Obviously, in terms of, the pop filter being there, it's there for words like, that start with P's. That's why it's called a pop filter, for all those pops. And even for B's and maybe T's and S's, which are a little bit sharper on the ear. So a good example a good technique. Obviously, things can be fixed in the mix, but that's not the best thing. Is obviously doing it, in the recording and getting it perfect. So a good technique is on words which have P's and B's. You kind of put your arm up, because right away what happens when I put the pen to paper, what happens is my entire body a little bit lifts up, and it's not going to make the sound certain differently, like in terms of volume, but my head will also go up. So my head, instead of the audio source going straight into the capacitor, it'll go a little bit higher, and it kind of goes over, but overall the sound will be there. So having those little things of putting your hand up on those all those little harsher things is a good technique. And in general, if your voice is really strong and those P's are a little stronger, then try your best to write, your P's out of the, as much as you can out of your lyrics. So I'm now going to show you best way posture positioning wise to record on a mic. Screaming rule worldwide, cause we all caps lock. No, it's hard for your girl just to keep her hands off. No gulu gulu in my prime. No hulu, she can get the old show for show. I'll be your guru. So if you notice there, I kept the same distance. Little bit my head was moving, but it wasn't much. I kept the same distance throughout the whole time. For me, a lot of people need to move something. I always move my hands when I rap. I guess it's a way of kind of like expressing, that energy, putting it somewhere. And what happens is I'm not, touching the mic. I'm not touching the stand. I'm not creating that much, extra sound, with my body. And I'm not, harming the mic in every way that's going to add any sound. So in terms of that, I'm not moving my body much, but I'm putting that extra energy that needs to move into my hand, So try your best to stay in the same position. It takes some time to kind of keep volume wise consistent, and things like compressors are there to like to keep those things in check, and obviously EQ and stuff. But the main thing is kind of keeping that same neutral zone. And when you need to go louder, you can move back, When you want to try different voices and deeper voices, you can go a little bit closer and, watch for different things. The main thing is your engineer will, adjust your gain towards, how loud you are always. So that guy's your best friend in this situation. But the main thing, having this type of distance, keeping the same back posture and being like, at a, your mouth and from the mouth to the nose being aligned with the mic itself is the main thing.